The morning sun spilled across the city skyline, coating the towering glass buildings with a glow that promised yet another day of relentless ambition. It was the kind of city that never slowed down, never slept, and never forgave weakness. Cars honked below, men and women in tailored suits moved with the same hurried rhythm, their footsteps echoing determination across the marble floors of the grand corporate towers. Inside one of those towers, at the very heart of it all, was Alexander Hart, the man people whispered about, admired, envied, and feared in equal measure. Alexander wasn't just a CEO, he was the embodiment of ruthless success. Every article written about him highlighted his meteoric rise from obscurity to power, his billion-dollar deals, his flawless strategies that crushed competition, and his cold precision in decision-making. He was the kind of man who didn't have time for sentimentality, for hesitation, or for weakness. In his world, emotions were liabilities, and efficiency was the only currency that mattered. This morning was no different. His schedule was packed to the minute: board meeting at 9, negotiation call with investors at 10, lunch with potential partners at 12, and a press briefing at 2. His assistants moved like shadows behind him, briefing him as they walked, but Alexander only half listened, his sharp eyes fixed on the gleaming elevator doors ahead. His life was a carefully constructed rhythm of power, precision, and progress. But fate, as it often does, had woven something unexpected into his path. As Alexander stepped into the vast lobby of his headquarters, the marble floors beneath him reflecting the shine of his polished shoes, he didn't notice her at first. To him, she was just another figure in the sea of movement, insignificant and out of place. But she noticed him. A little girl, no older than 6, stood near one of the towering pillars, a small pink backpack strapped across her shoulders. Her cream-colored dress was simple, embroidered with delicate flowers near the hem, and her tiny shoes tapped nervously against the floor as she clutched something tightly in her small hands. It wasn't a toy, not a doll or a stuffed animal, but a diary, worn, brown, and fraying at the edges as though it had been held onto for years. She looked around the lobby with wide, uncertain eyes, but when she saw Alexander stride past, something in her expression changed. She stepped forward, as if summoning all the courage her tiny body could muster. "Excuse me," her small voice called out, shaky but determined. Alexander didn't stop at first. He rarely paid attention to strangers, let alone children. But something about the tone, the fragility wrapped in courage, made him pause. He turned, his sharp gaze falling on her. She was so small compared to the grandeur of the lobby, almost swallowed by its vastness, yet she stood there, holding her ground with an intensity that startled him. She lifted the diary toward him. "Sir, can you read this for me? It's important." The request caught him off guard. Alexander had been asked for many things in his life: money, advice, contracts, signatures, but never this. Never something so innocent, so raw. He stared at the diary, then at the girl, and for the first time in years, he felt a moment of hesitation. The marble-cold CEO knelt down, his expensive suit brushing against the floor as he lowered himself to her level. "What is this?" he asked, his voice softer than he intended. She held the diary closer, her little fingers trembling as though she were offering him a treasure she couldn't bear to lose. "It's my mom's. She's not here anymore. She said her words would help me when I feel lost. But I can't read it very well yet. Could you?" Her voice cracked, the fragility breaking through the bravery she tried so hard to hold. Alexander's chest tightened. He wasn't prepared for this. He wasn't prepared for the sudden wave of humanity crashing into his carefully guarded world. He took the diary gently, his fingers brushing against the worn leather. Opening it, he was met with delicate handwriting, neat, graceful, and filled with warmth. These were not just words, they were pieces of a heart captured on paper. He began to read. The entry started simply, addressed to the little girl whose name he didn't know yet. The mother's words spoke of love, of encouragement, of reminding her daughter that she was never alone even when the world felt heavy. She wrote about facing fears, about being brave, about kindness being stronger than cruelty. As Alexander read aloud, his voice, usually so firm and commanding, softened. Each sentence felt like it carried weight beyond ink and paper, it carried life, memory, and emotion. The little girl listened with wide eyes, her lips slightly parted as though hearing her mother's voice through his. When he faltered at a particularly tender line, she whispered, "Keep going." And so he did. As the words filled the air between them, Alexander felt something he hadn't felt in years, an ache deep inside his chest, a memory tugging at the corners of his mind. He remembered his own childhood, the small apartment where he had lived with his mother, the sacrifices she had made, the words she had spoken to encourage him. He remembered promising her that he would make her proud, that he would succeed, that he would take care of her. And yet, in his hunger for success, he had lost her far too soon, her voice silenced before he could truly repay her. Reading the diary now, it was as though he was reading words his own mother might have written, words he had desperately needed but had never heard in time. By the time he reached the end of the passage, Alexander's throat was tight, his vision blurred with emotions he didn't dare let show. He closed the diary gently and handed it back to the girl. She looked up at him with eyes that held both innocence and wisdom far beyond her years. She said her words could change people, she whispered. Did they change you? Didn't flinch, didn't try to hide it. He spoke with quiet pride, as though dignity wasn't defined by wealth but by effort. And strangely, Eleanor found herself listening. Really listening. He had dreams, too, small, perhaps, but sincere. He loved books, especially history. He painted in his free time, though he admitted most of his paintings stayed stacked in his tiny apartment. And the way he spoke to Sophie, patient and playful, stirred something deep inside Eleanor that no polished millionaire ever had. By the time the cafe's lights dimmed, signaling closing time, Eleanor realized she hadn't checked her phone for work emails in over an hour, a rare miracle. Daniel walked them to their car. He didn't try to impress her with fancy words. He didn't even ask for her number. Instead, he gave a small, almost shy smile. Thank you for giving me a chance. I know I'm not what you expected. Eleanor nodded, conflicted. As she drove away, Sophie hugged a little napkin doodle Daniel had drawn for her, a simple sketch of a princess holding hands with a knight. Mommy, he's nice. Can we see him again? Sophie asked sleepily. Eleanor didn't answer. Her chest felt tight. She told herself it was ridiculous. She was a CEO. He was a janitor. Their worlds couldn't possibly fit together. And yet, when she lay in bed that night, she wasn't thinking about her business strategies or her competitors. She was thinking about the way Daniel had laughed, the way Sophie had smiled at him, and the way, for a fleeting moment, she had felt like a woman again, not just a CEO, not just a mother, but Eleanor.